Good morning and welcome to Bucktown Cooks. Today we have a very special guest. I would say the coolest cat in Bucktown, Miss Shane Neiffer, science teacher here. So welcome.
Hey, glad to be here.
Miss Neiffer's going to walk us through how to make one of her favorite after-school snacks. What is your favorite song, by the way? What are we listening to here?
So I've become obsessed with Luke Combs' "Houston, We've Got a Problem" song because in the second verse they talk about Copperhead Road, and that's like my favorite line dance. So now my kids, they'll even ask every day on their way to school, they'll be like, "Can we play the fake Copperhead Road song?" And then because they know that there's a real Copperhead Road song that we actually line dance to.
Are you going to teach us a dance while we're cooking?
We'll do that another time.
All right, okay,
That would be another segment.
All right, but what Miss Neiffer is going to walk us through is one of her favorite after-school snacks. It's called spicy pretzels. And one of the skills that we're going to be working through this recipe is multiplying or doubling the recipe, because a lot of people are going to want these. So we didn't just buy a small bag of pretzels, we bought the big honking container. And so we're going to talk through how to double the recipe as we're working. So, Ms. Neiffer, what do you say we start, and how do we start?
All right.
What do you recommend?
So I do all of everything except the pretzels first, so that you can mix it up and then put the pretzels in and stir it around.
Okay, so we're going to put all of the ingredients, liquid and dry, in here?
Totally.
Okay,
Yep.
So what should we start with
All right,
here?
so we're going to start with our oil, and we're going to do a cup of oil.
Why don't we use this cup? Why do we use that one?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
Or would you like me to answer that one?
No, I'll do it. I'll
Okay,
do this
good.
one. So you always want to be able, if you measure in something clear, then you can really see what word were we talking about before?
The meniscus.
The meniscus, which is coincidentally not the one in your knee this time. But if you measure it in there, the bubble can kind of be on top, which is over that, and then you're putting more in than you really need to.
Yeah, so this is a dry measuring cup, and so we don't measure any liquid in here for the reason Ms. Neiffer just explained. We use a liquid measuring cup.
All right. So because I'm a science teacher, I read my volumes, getting down eye level with them, just like hopefully you guys know what these are, graduated cylinder and our beaker. And whenever we're measuring volumes in science too, you always want to get down eye level, and we read what part of the meniscus?
The bottom.
The bottom of it. So it doesn't happen a whole lot in plastic, but in glass, it really forms this like kind of curved bubble, and you want to read the bottom of it.
So this recipe calls for 1 cup of vegetable oil. We're doubling the recipe. So we're going to go for 2 cups. We already put 1 in. Here's our 2nd cup of liquid. There we go.
Good job. All right. So we do our ranch dip mix next.
And so if you want to take care of that, it calls for 1 packet, but since we're doubling it, we're going to put in 2. While she's doing that, the recipe calls for, excuse me, sorry to be rude. The recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of dill. This is dill weed, so it's dry. That's a spice. But something I want to be sure to delineate for you guys is the difference between a teaspoon and a tablespoon, because we can really ruin our food if we don't know the difference. So a tablespoon is the larger of the 2 spoons, or the largest spoon typically on a ring. The teaspoon is the smaller. And this is delineated by a large T. So a tablespoon is going to be a large T, or an uppercase T in a recipe, whereas a teaspoon, the smaller spoon, is going to be a lowercase t in a recipe. I guess the easiest way to remember it is a table is big, a cup of tea is small. So cute. Tablespoon, teaspoon. I don't know if there's a better way. I'm sure somebody has a better way. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 teaspoons of dill. And again, if you watched any of the other videos, I like to measure things in teaspoons on a piece of paper or a plate so that I can sweep off the top and get it level. And then anything that's left over can go right back in the container. I'm not wasting it. So again, because we're doubling it, I'm looking for 2 teaspoons. And it smells so good. I love the smell of dill. It's so fresh. Okay, and then do you want to measure out what we had? 2 tablespoons of steak seasoning?
So I tend to use the McCormick's, I think, like regular steak seasoning, we have, oh shoot, I took them all off. That's not good. For this one, I'm using like a Southern Hickory, which I feel like is probably the most kind of regular one. Oh, I'm just gonna do what you just told them not to do.
She's self-corrected. That's what we're all about. We're all about monitoring, self-correcting, and adjusting, and moving on. Perfect. I love the little wrist
shake.
wiggle. There you go. Same effect. It's nice and even.
I feel like we need some music now.
Yeah, we could. Mrs. Stauffenberg, would you sing us a song? Please? Hum us a tune. While she's doing that, I'm going to measure out the 2 teaspoons of cayenne. Again, it only calls for 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper.
So, I just want to talk. The cayenne pepper is really spicy. So like when I make this for myself and my kids, I mean, they're 3 and 4, so like we can't have it super spicy. So I probably only use, if I'm using just a bag of pretzels and I'm just doing like 1, you know, not doubling the recipe, maybe like 1/4 to 1/2.
So do you think 1 teaspoon,
I think 1 teaspoon
is good
probably
if we're
enough.
doubling?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it's not too spicy, but it gives a little bit of spice.
And that's the thing that's fun about some of these more simple recipes. You can really kind of make it your own. Whereas baking, sometimes you can't.
I know. I feel
Cooking is a little bit easier to modify.
I've made this before instead of like using dry ranch if I didn't have it, like using like regular, like ranch dressing, like wet ranch dressing.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah.
So are we ready to?
Stir
Next
it
step
up.
is to stir. You want to stir and incorporate all the ingredients?
Oh, I will incorporate all the ingredients.
Might as well have a little vocabulary in there.
All right.
Okay.
Last step.
Are we just going to dump this whole container in?
Yeah, so when we got this, and even if you get a bag of hard sourdough pretzels, usually they're whole and they're really big. And one of our favorite things to do at home is to throw the bags on the floor, and my kids are like, can we do it again? Can we do it again? Because you really want the pretzel pieces kind of small. Now you said you can buy a bag that's already broken.
You can, but I didn't do that because I figured Miss Stauffenberg,
she had so much fun.
she might have some frustration that she wants to work out. So
it brought her joy.
You missed it. She stood here and banged the back of pretzels. All right, here we go.
All right, do it up.
I'll save this. We can put the pretzels back in after they're baked.
Super idea.
Might as well reuse.
Yeah. Mr. Stanley would be happy with that too, right? Recycling and reusing and stuff.
Speaking of Mr. Stanley, what's he going to come on here and cook, I wonder?
I don't know. I'll have to get him on.
He could play his own music as
He
came on.
could,
He could play his drums.
Yeah.
Mr. Stanley, if you're watching, you're not.
Sorry.
It's okay. You always make a mess when you're in the kitchen. That's part
what
of the
they say.
fun. Good cooks
A good
always
cook
make
is a
little
messy
mess. That's
cook.
right.
I fully embrace that in the kitchen.
So what we're doing here is we're really just trying to make sure all the pretzels are evenly coated, because you don't want to think you're getting a spicy pretzel and bite into the pretzel and find out it's just a regular average Joe pretzel.
Yeah, that would be.
Disappointing.
It would be.
That would be, yeah.
All right. Is that looking a little better?
It's looking good. So what we'll do when they're all mixed together is we're going to pour these evenly on 2 baking sheets, and we're going to bake it for about 2 hours on 200 degrees. I know that sounds like a long time, but 200 degrees is a really low temperature. We're really not trying to necessarily change the consistency of the pretzel itself. What we're trying to do is dry up that oil and get the seasoning baked onto and coated into the shell.
All right, should we try to go half and half here?
Yep. Let's see how well the science teacher can half it out. Don't worry, I don't have a scale. I won't be weighing it.
Sometimes I'll use like a spatula at the end and get all of the goofy stuff.
I have one.
Oh, see, there we go, making more
Speaking
mess.
of, this happens to be my favorite tool, because in a minute I'm going to ask you what your favorite kitchen tool is.
That's a super segue.
My favorite kitchen tool is not just any spatula. It's a red rubber spatula or a red rubber scraper, whatever you want to call it.
What do you call it?
Well, I tend to call it a spatula, but
Okay.
I
People
don't.
don't? Other people don't?
I don't know. But I think of a spatula as something you flip things with, so I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But what do you think? Is that evenly halved?
No.
we won't take points off for that. So this is an already preheated oven. You can see on the oven it says bake 200. That means it's ready to go. So we'll just open her up, slide her in, and we're gonna set the timer for 2 hours. Now it's always important to set that timer, especially if you're me, because you get working and you forget about it, and then you end up with a ruined product. So Miss Neiffer, while those are cooking, we're not gonna keep rolling for 2 hours. I think we might bore our guests, but I
We go for a bike ride.
we could. Miss Neiffer and I have a lot in common. She likes to run, I like to bike, we like outdoors. But I ask all my guest chefs on Bucktown Cooks a couple of questions. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with our students,
Totally.
what is one food that you can't live without?
Macaroni and cheese.
Yes.
If I could, I would eat it every day.
From a box, or do you make homemade? Or what?
I do both.
Yeah, okay.
If I'm eating macaroni and cheese from a box, the Kraft spirals are my favorite. But I
Nice.
also make a really good smoked macaroni and cheese.
Ooh.
And it has like cream cheese in it and like 3 different other cheeses. Ugh,
That sounds amazing.
sounds like dinner now.
I'll be over. Give me your address. Okay, your favorite memory surrounding food?
So for all of the summer holidays, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day, my dad's side of the family cooks out for breakfast. So like it's so many people, although not so much this past summer.
Yeah.
And we have like an open fire pit, and they grill potatoes and eggs and
Wow.
everything.
That sounds
And
amazing.
there's just so many cousins there, so the kids play. They play wiffle ball and they play kickball on the outside, and
That's
it's
awesome.
just a fun day.
That's awesome.
Yep.
People like to gather when there's food involved, right? All right, your go-to kitchen gadget.
Is my smoothie blender.
Yeah. Do you make smoothies for breakfast?
I do.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, as I said, this is my favorite kitchen tool. And as a souvenir and a thank you for being on my show, you get a souvenir Bucktown Cooks Wildcat red rubber spatula. It is usable, but if you use it, the sticker will fall right off.
You didn't have it like monogrammed on there?
No, I'm not that high-tech. So, thank you so much for joining
thank
us
you.
today,
This
Miss
was so
Neiffer.
fun.
And
Yeah.
I will post this recipe online for you guys to try, or you can try your own favorite after-school snack. You are going to be doubling your recipe just like we did, and practicing your measurements just like we did. So, for now, that'll be it until we get those out of the oven. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.